right, welcome back, guys. We're in season 3 already.
Already season 3. That means well over 20 episodes.
Wow. Season 3, episode 1 of Makeup Meets Skin.
Where art and science meet
Beauty! All right, so what are we going to talk about today, Lucrezia?
Today we have a very important topic, one of my favorite.
Yep, you're going to take the lead on this one.
I'm going to take the lead on this one. If you're a student of mine, go watch it. If you're a student of ours, go watch it. I'm telling you, watch this episode before we even tell you what it is. We're going to talk about employment, specifically in the beauty industry, but this is valid, federally, so it applies to any job, literally. But since we are in the beauty industry, this is what I'm going to talk about today. Focus specifically for beauty professionals. So employment, you guys. First thing first, before I get into it, well, do you know something about it?
A little bit.
What do you know?
I know that in this industry, we are often misclassified.
Yes.
And taken advantage of.
Correct. Because a lot of people are hired, quote unquote, as independent contractors instead of W-2 employees. And it's been going on forever. I don't know why nobody has ever done anything about it. Apparently in the beauty industry, it's been going on forever since the 60s or the 70s, and people keep doing the same thing over and over again. So what I want to teach you guys today, what I really want to get deep into, is the difference between being a W-2 employee, being an independent contractor, and being a renter, because that could also be a thing. Maybe you open your own business inside one of these studios where you can have your own suite, your private suite, or maybe you rent a chair from somebody else or a room from somebody else. So before I start blabbing about all that stuff, why am I talking, who am I, why am I talking about this, why do I know this? I'm not even American, Megan. What do I know about American employment?
But you have credentials.
So this is what happened, you guys. A few years ago, I started getting really busy and booked, and I was looking to have an assistant or an employee or somebody. So I started looking in what are the ways to have people working for you in America, because obviously it's different than Italy. And in my research, I came across this thing like 1099 contractor, employee. And I was like, wow, this is so very confusing. I want somebody that works for me, meaning I want to tell them what they need to do when they have to do it. I want an actual employee, somebody working for me. Well, then there was a little bit of confusion amongst these people that I was talking to. So I decided to go and talk to an employment lawyer.
Okay.
So not a CPA. CPA is nothing wrong with you guys, but you run numbers, so you don't know if the numbers that I'm showing you are legit or not. They just run numbers. So I had an appointment with an employment lawyer, somebody that works only or mostly, in employment law. So I went and talked to this sir, and he said, well, if you want them to work for you, so you tell them what to do and all of that, those are employees.
Okay.
They're W-2 employees. And I said, okay, cool, so that's what I need. And he's like, yeah, it's quite expensive to have them though. And I said, okay, how much money are we talking? So then I started looking into it, and comes out that to have an employee, I had to pay a bunch of stuff, including paying the employee, obviously, their wage. And then you have to pay for payroll, workers' comp, insurance. You have to pay half of their food taxes, depending on what they want you to withhold. It was a whole ordeal. I'm like, wow, that's a lot of money. And he said, yes. And I said, well, somebody told me about independent contractors. And he was like, no, based on what you're telling me that you want them to do, the classification of that individual would be that of a W-2 employee. So then I was like, okay, well, I can't afford that right now. So, it just kind of went in the back burner for a while, didn't really think about it for a while. And then, eventually I decided to go to school for small business management, to college, I did my credits. And, two of the credits that we had to study were employment law.
Okay.
So we did a whole course, about employment, and test about only employment law. And then also all the different insurances, liabilities, and all that kind of stuff. So that's what I learned in school, in college. Basically, what this lawyer told me a couple of years prior. But obviously, now I was in college, so it started making a lot more sense. I'm like, yeah, now I understand what they're talking about here, because it was explained to us how it works. So I'm gonna use, since it can be a little confusing, I'm gonna use myself as an example because I am an employee. I am also a contractor for other companies sometimes.
Okay. Yeah.
And I'm also a landlord to a renter,
Yes.
to two renters.
Again, you wear many hats, like we've said in many episodes.
Right, several hats. So I have, direct experience and knowledge in all the different scenarios that I'm going to show you here. So I'm going to use myself as an example because it's just easier to explain everything by using, actual example rather than just blah, blah. So the first thing that you have to know is that everything I'm going to talk about here, this is all at a federal level. So this is nothing to do with Missouri, Kansas, Iowa, California, nothing. This is at a federal level, okay? There are federal laws in the United States that cover every state as far as employment goes. And then each state has to abide by those, plus they can do other things. So I don't know, California, for example, says that beauty professional, their minimum wage is double the minimum wage.
Oh.
Yes. So hairdressers, for example, I believe their minimum wage is $32 or something like that, because the actual minimum wage for everybody else is 16. So for example, but they cannot give less than what federal law says. Okay, so the states can only add things. They can only improve the laws from the federal government. Okay. States cannot say, oh no, employment law here doesn't apply, I have my own. No, they have to follow the federal one, plus they can add things to it. Okay, which could be, some examples are minimum wage. Every state has their own, so that's up to the states. Something else is tips, not tips. Who gets tips, who doesn't get tips, like service. If are beauty professionals in the service industry, like workers at the restaurant, yes, no. So states can say these things, and have their own laws about that. But when it comes down to actual employment laws, the one that we need to follow is federal law. So the federal government, the government that people don't like, well, that's the one that makes the decisions and the laws for us. So, that's,
like it or not, you gotta follow.
Exactly. So employment laws are very clear. There's no confusion. Okay, the confusion comes from people that are trying to find a loop to spend less money or not pay, or maybe they need a worker but they don't have the money to have a worker. So people come up with weird things. But so this is what the law says. If you work for somebody. So you show up at the time that they tell you, on the day that they tell you. They do your schedule, they do your bookings, they do the marketing for you. So they're also the ones, spending money marketing, bringing in the clients. They tell you the services you're gonna perform. They clock you in and out. This is a must. You're working under their liability insurance. Maybe you're wearing a scrub with the name of the company, whatever. If you work for somebody, there is only one type of classification, and that is that of an employee, W-2 employee. There's no other. This is it. It's very simple. I don't know why Americans make it confusing, but that's it. If you work for somebody, that's what it is. Now, what does that mean when you work for somebody? That you as the worker have no control over nothing. You're told what to do, at what time to show up, what to wear, and what services you perform. Okay? Now that sounds like terrible. You're like, wow, I'm gonna work for somebody else, and they tell me everything to do. I have no freedom, I cannot make my schedule. Right. But the good thing about working for somebody else is that the same way that you don't have control over certain things, you also don't have the burden of certain things. Right? So when you show up, work, and go home,
that's it.
You don't have to worry about having insurance. You don't have to worry about taxes. You don't have to worry about nothing. Why? Because your taxes, for example, for income declaration purposes, your taxes are being withheld from your paycheck depending on what you typed on your W-4, when you were hired. So you're gonna put that you have dependent, not dependent, how many people you claim, 0, 1, 2, that depends on your personal situation, obviously. And then your employer is going to withhold some of these taxes, okay? So in your paycheck, you will see that some of the money that you made went to the state and federal. Could be the city too, if you work, for example, in Kansas city limits.
Yeah.
You know, depending on where you live, that the different counties and everything. But so your paycheck is the amount you made minus a certain amount of taxes that are being withheld by your employer. Not only your employer is withholding some taxes from your paycheck, they're also contributing to those taxes. Okay, so which means that you don't have the burden of 100% your taxes, which that's the situation for a contractor, for example, or a self-employed. Now, what taxes am I talking about? I'm talking about FUTA taxes, F-U-T-A, which are your contributions to Social Security and Medicare, and some of your state taxes too. Okay, so basically what happens is the state and the government say, okay, Lucrezia, from this paycheck, 15% of that goes into taxes. If you are an employee, they only take 7.5% from you. They only take half of it from you.
And then the other half comes from the employer.
Right, the other half comes from the employer. So when you're working for somebody as a W-2, yes, they tell you what time you gotta show up and what clients you have to service. Yes, they set the prices for you. Yes, they're only gonna pay you a cut of whatever they charge. Yes, but they do everything else. They have all the expenses. You just have to show up, go to work, do your job, go home, get paid, with taxes withheld already, which means that at the end of the year, most likely either you're gonna have a return or you won't have to pay nothing because they've been withheld throughout the months that you work there.
Yeah.
Okay, right. And not only the employer is doing all these things, they are also contributing half of your FUTA taxes, so Social Security and Medicare, these contributions. Another benefit of being an employee is that you are covered by workers' comp. So if you break a leg while you're going from a treatment room to another, well, you're covered by your employer's liability insurance. Okay, whether if you are in your own studio and you break your leg, guess what? It's your problem.
Yep.
Okay. So yes, for some people it sucks being told what to do, how to do it, all of that, but there are obviously some advantages to that too. So this is, you guys, when you work for somebody else. So this is a spa that's looking for a new esthetician, and they tell you, yes, I want you to be here Monday through Friday, 9 to 5. We offer facials and advanced treatments. We're doing your books, we're doing the payment, we're doing everything. You just show up and do your job, go home, get paid. Okay, so now on average, when you're looking at this type of job, if we go deep into the beauty industry, you're gonna get a commission out of the services that are being given to the clients. And typically a commission ranges from anything from 30 to 55% commission, meaning that if the service is $100, if you're on a 30 commission, you get $30 of that. If you're on a 55, you get $55 of that.
But
Now,
there is a different commission for services versus products.
Yes, there's also different, yes, exactly. If they want you to retail, then when we look at retail, I think we're looking at 8, 10, 12%.
Yes.
Typically on average. So that's for when you sell the products. Now, when you perform your services, some people say, oh, half of the money I make goes to the salon or the spa or whatever. Yes. For a reason, because they're paying for everything.
Right.
They're paying for the booking system, they're paying rent, they're paying the water, they're paying the laundry that you're using, to do the towels, they're paying the products, they're paying all for all these things. Now, these things for the salon or the spa, there are also write-offs, okay, that they can use at the end of the year. But what write-offs are, it's not free money like a lot of people think. Write-offs are simply expenses that you can track and show to the IRS to reduce your taxable income. So let's say in a year you have services for $100,000, but you have write-offs for $50,000. The government is going to tax you only income tax only on the $50,000.
Okay.
Because the other $50,000s are proved to be expenses that you use to run the business. Okay. So yes, the spa is gonna give you only, quote unquote, a percentage of the service because they use the other money to keep the business running. And on top of that, obviously there has to be some profit for them because business are for profit. So the business has to make money. Like this is very, I don't know why some people get so offended by this, but
Right.
like businesses are there to make a profit. It would make no sense to have a business and have 8 estheticians working and the owner makes no money.
Right.
Like what's the point?
I mean, I love helping people, but
Right.
money makes the world go
So
round.
yes, I do everything for you. You show up and work, you go home with a wage, and then some of that it goes in my pockets because I put all the work in and I assumed all the risks
Yeah.
of having the business, right? Also because imagine if the business goes bankrupt or something, the esthetician can just walk away and go find another job. The business
Yeah.
owner has a whole different level of risks and assessments and things that they will have to do. So not all business owners sucks. Some of them do. Not all of employees suck. Some of them do. So there's no like I see often like these people argue over this, and they're like, oh, salon owners are all bad, or oh, employees are all bad. It's not true. There's good and bad in both.
yeah.
There are business owners that take advantage of estheticians or providers. There's also providers that think that they want to get paid 90% to do the minimum, So like you guys. Okay, so now since we're talking about commissions and cuts, how much money you get paid, legally, not only they have to pay you the commission that they agreed on. So let's say 50% for ease of calculation. They also have to guarantee you as an employee minimum wage per hours worked. Okay, so if you're scheduled to work 40 hours a week and the minimum wage is, let's say, $10 because it's easy to do the calculation. Well, we're not too far anyway, huh? So let's do $10 just because it's easy to do the math. So 40 hours times $10, that makes $400 a week. Okay? When you're getting paid a commission, that commission must match or be higher than these $400. Okay? That's the minimum wage per pay period. If you're getting paid 2 weeks, then it's times 2, but whatever. Let's do weekly. Okay, so let's say you did services, you were scheduled to work 40 hours, but you did services for $320. The other $80 have to come from the employer. They have to compensate what you didn't reach with your commission. So the payment, the legal way of doing it, it's always your percentage commission or minimum wage, whichever is higher per pay period. Now, typically, a salon that looks for a W-2 employee has enough bookings to always meet the commission.
Yeah.
It's very few instances. Maybe, it could be somebody really very new, but typically per hour's work, you will always hit your commission. Okay? So, and there's another thing that a lot of people don't understand. They're like, so if I'm paid commission when I don't have anything to do, I'm not getting paid. Well, yeah, if you meet your commission, yes.
Well, I mean, think about it. I would rather make $1,000 than $400.
Exactly.
So.
Exactly.
And I'm not a mathematician.
Right, exactly, right? So, if you have an offer as a W-2 employee at 40%, 42%, 45%, and you're really booked, you're gonna make a lot of money without having to put nothing but your work in it.
Yeah.
Like literally. Now, yes, you have to show up on time. Yes, you cannot wear what you want, most likely. Yes, you will have to brush your hair in the morning and put some mascara on your lashes so you look presentable. Yeah, probably have to do all those things. But guess what? When you go home, when you clock out, done. Nothing else to think about. So this is the example, since I told you I was going to give you an actual example. This is me working at the school that we work at, okay? I am an employee of that school. I was hired. I was told, in this case, I have a hourly pay. This is not a commission job. I'm there as a teacher, to teach. So, it should be like, how much do the students learn? The more they learn, the more we get paid.
No, because then we wouldn't get paid sometimes because, okay, it should be how much do they comprehend? No. Sometimes they're just there, but they're not there.
Okay, so at the school where we teach at, I'm there working part-time. I'm scheduled to work 12 hours a week, sometimes only 6. Sometimes Thursday I don't work. Anyway, I have my hourly, so I clock in. That's when I start getting paid. I clock out. That's when they stop paying me. Okay, the clock goes. Now, where I work, I have kind of like somewhat of, like freedom to do what I want. Really, Michelle knows that I show up into my job and go home. But there are places, where they could tell you, I want you to wear this or that, whatever. We have quite a bit of freedom when it comes to that.
Yeah, I mean,
what we can wear.
as long as it's professional.
Right,
we're setting an example.
We don't have a dress code per se, as long as we look like teachers, I guess, in the beauty industry. So anyway, I'm paid hourly, right? So when I was hired, I was told this is the amount of money we're gonna give you per hour that you work for us. This is your W-2 that you need to fill out, W-4, sorry, that you need to fill out. So I went home, filled it out, and then Michelle started holding these taxes for me. Half that are withheld from my paycheck, half of them she contributes to them. Okay, then at the end of the year she gives me what? A W-2. That's why we're called W-2 employees. So the W-2 says Lucrezia Mappelli worked for this amount of money, so many months, and she has paid this much amount of money to the state and this much amount of money to the other state, because I live in Missouri and work in Kansas. And then this is what we gave federally. Okay, so those are all my contribution. Depending on how many individual I am claiming, or if I have dependent or so, I might either have some money back in January when I file my taxes, or none.
Wonder when we can start claiming our animals.
Right, isn't that right?
Because
you can claim your child.
There are kids. We feed them. We bathe them.
Yes, all of that.
Yeah.
So me working at the school, I show up, do my job, go home, nothing to think about. I don't have to worry about nothing. I just sit back and relax. I'm getting paid to do a job, done. Okay? So that is me being an employee. Lucrezia is an employee at the academy. And then we have another situation. Lucrezia as an independent contractor. And people call it a 1099 independent contractor. It's funny to me because there's no 1099 really. It's just the receipt that you will receive if you work as an independent contractor. It's not a classification of nothing 1099.
Okay.
It's just the receipt. So the proper name is independent contractor. So an independent contractor effectively works for themselves. It's a self-employed individual that sometimes, or that can, take on other jobs or do other jobs for other businesses. Okay, so an independent contractor, the first thing that you have to understand before even wondering about a job offer, the first thing that you have to understand, if you are an independent contractor, or if you are working as an independent contractor, or if you're being offered anything as an independent contractor, effectively you're self-employed. You work for yourself. You are in charge of everything that has to do with you. Okay? Oh, I don't have a business, it's just me. Don't matter, that would be a sole proprietor. It doesn't matter. The way you pay your taxes has nothing to do with, the classification that you use to pay taxes has nothing to do with this. But if you are an independent contractor, you're simply somebody that works for themselves. This has to be clear. Okay? So as a self-employed person, you know about this too, you have to do everything.
Everything.
So you have lots of freedom because you can do what you want for your business. You can decide you don't want to work after 2 p.m. You decide you don't want to go to work the weekend. You decide you don't want to work, holidays, whatever. You can make all the decisions you want because you work for yourself. But you also have all the responsibilities and the burdens of working for yourself. So remember how As an employee, I pay only half of my FUTA taxes because the other half are from the employer.
Yep.
Well, guess what? As an independent contractor, you're gonna pay all of it because there's no employer. You're not employed by anybody else.
Yeah.
You're working for yourself. Okay, so there you go. Already, right out the gate, double taxes that you're paying compared if you were an employee.
2 things you're guaranteed in life: taxes and death.
Correct. Right. Not to mention that to work safely, or legally, well, maybe the job that you're looking to, that you're doing requires a license, for example. So you're paying for your license. And then, since you're working effectively for yourself, you need your own liability insurance.
Yep.
Because you are an independent contractor, okay? You're not working under anybody else's liability insurance. Business insurance, something else. Liability, that depends on the states. Liability insurance, you have to have your own. As an independent contractor, since you work for yourself, you don't have any workers' comp. If you break your leg while you're changing a light in somebody's salon, well, that's your problem, not theirs. Okay? Unless they gave you the ladder that has broken things, but you know what I mean. Like you're working for yourself effectively. Okay. Now, what happens in the beauty industry often? There are spas, salons, or people that look for 1099 employees. I've heard often, or 1099 contractors, and they tell you magical words like, "Oh, you can wear what you want. You can come and go as you please. You can be in control of your own schedule. Oh, you don't want to work the weekends? You don't have to. You don't want to work nighttime? You don't have to." They give you all this freedom, and they say, "But I'm gonna pay you 50%, 40%, 55%. Typically, in these situations, they offer a percentage that's slightly higher than the average that an employee would get, which is even more appealing. Because they're gonna be like, like you went and had an interview at that spa as a W-2 employees, they were gonna pay you 42%. Come here, be a contractor for me, I pay you 55.
Ooh.
Yes, and you have your own schedule.
Oh, even better.
Yeah, right. And we don't have a dress code, yep.
Sign me up.
Exactly. And then when you go and do the math, you're like, wait a minute. Because they are paying me 13% more in this case that I just mentioned, but 7.5% of that, now I have to put more than what I would put if I was a W-2 employee.
Yep.
Because I don't have an employer. I don't have an employer, right? Nobody's employing me. As a contractor, you work for yourself. You won't have a contract with the spa or the salon besides saying that you have to perform some tasks at an agreed percentage, and that's it. Now, this relationship still falls under employment law, but this type of relationship, when you have a spa and independent contractors, gives literally no benefits to the contractors. The only one benefiting from it is the spa. The only one benefit from it is the spa or the salon or whatever. Now, sometimes they have malicious intent. They know what they're doing.
Yep.
And they do that on purpose. So they don't have to worry about none of your taxes, none of it, nothing. You're responsible for everything. And they also tell you stuff like, "Oh, we're supplying all the products." So then they have write-offs at the end of the year, and they can lower their taxable income. While you have been working, performing services, you still get paid only percentage. Let's not forget that. But you have no write-offs because, well, you are not processing the payments, you don't have a booking system, everything goes through the salon, and you're not buying products. So your taxable income goes up. Their taxable income goes down. And you have to pay all your taxes on it. So some salons, again, do it with malicious intent. They know what they're doing. Some salons in spa, I have found out, they're just ignorant.
Yep.
They just don't know. Or like, well, Betty down the road told me that that's what they've been doing for the past 30 years, so I keep doing it. So nail salons, I was saying, there's plenty of situations where these are. Often these salons or spas, they say stuff like, well, having an employee is very expensive. I can't afford it. Well, that means you don't have enough booking to have an employee to begin with. Sorry. You can't have somebody cover a shift if you don't pay them appropriately. And having people come and just provide the service or the facial or whatever, so you can make 40%, 45% off of them, and then you clock them in, clock them out, and then you send them home, so you're not even paying their hourly or nothing. I'm sorry, that's illegal. If you cannot afford an employee, if you cannot afford to pay somebody to be on a schedule and receive your clients and pay their workers' comp and their food taxes and their insurance and all that, then I am sorry, you are not booked enough. It's very simple. Okay, is it expensive to have an employee? Yes, it is, but what do you want to do? Well, that's when people come up with 1099 contractor or 1099 employee. Legally, this situation is called misclassification of labor. You can go on the IRS website if you don't trust me, and people don't even come in the comment and try to say that I'm full of shit. Okay, I've spent the last 5 years of my life here to figure this out, so I have plenty of knowledge. I am, yes, you know of your friend that tried with that corporate salon and it didn't go. I don't care. I don't care. The law is clear. The fact that there are people who've been working like this for 20 years or so, the fact that there are big chains, especially hair cutting, big corporates that operate that way, the fact that it's been going on forever, it does not make it legal.
Right.
Period. Okay? So, I don't care to hear none stories of, because people try to justify it like that. Oh, well, but at that chain, that's what they do. I know, I've heard about it. And that does not make it legal. Not because somebody does it, it means that it's legal.
Right.
Okay? So, if you receive a job offer as a esthetician, or whatever, if you receive a job offer and they give you a W-9 to fill out, that's when your antennas go up, because that is for independent contractors. So that is when you're gonna put your social security number or EIN if you have one. Okay, so on the W-9, you're not gonna there's no section for withholdings, because there's nobody withholding any taxes for you. That is the form that you would find on a W-2, on a W-4 when you're hired as a W-2. If they give you to fill out a form where you put your social security number and there's no tax withholdings, that's a W-9, and that is for independent contractors.
I think a lot of times some newer estheticians are targeted more for the 1099.
Yes. Well, yeah, because listen, they're told you show up only when you have appointments.
Yeah.
You have free schedule. We don't have a dress code. We provide all the products. Sounds like, and we give you 50%. And in their head, they're like, "Wow, the other place was giving me only 42."
Yep.
Yeah. Well, one of our students, I'm not gonna say who for privacy reasons, but didn't even realize that she was an independent contractor for a long time. Mm-hmm. Then January comes around, and guess what? $2,500 in taxes she had to pay. And they asked me, what can I do now? That's too late.
Pay the taxes.
That's too late. In the eyes, the government doesn't care. Oh, but I have an email from her. No matter. Did you fill out a W-9? Did you fill out the paper and sign it and you gave them your social security number? The government couldn't care less.
Yeah.
So, I have $2,500 to pay in taxes. Yep, that's what happens when you don't pay attention. Or maybe you don't know. That's why I'm saying listen to this damn episode. Okay? Alright, so now when you are an independent contractor, you're not going to issue any 1099. This is where people get confused. You're not going to issue any 1099. You're going to receive a 1099. Not any 1099. You're going to receive a 1099 NEC. That stands for non-employee compensation.
And does that have how much money you made?
Yes.
For that entire year?
Correct.
Or that entire
for that business.
Business.
Yeah, for that business. Okay. Now, they issue this receipt, this 1099 NEC, non-employee compensation, so then you can go to the government and say, okay, I worked for such and such company and I made this much amount of money. So from then they're going to decide how, depending on your write-offs and everything, you know, in your taxes, they're going to say, okay, this is the amount of money that you have to pay us. Generally speaking, as a general rule, when you look at your totals as a self-employed individuals, you should consider 30% of it goes in taxes, generally speaking. So, do you remember the W-2 employee? 7.5%, one and done. Here, 30%.
I like the other one a lot better.
Right. So, you know, if it's too good to be true, it probably is. If it looks too good to be true, it probably is, you know. Okay, so that part right there, at the end of the year, you're going to be given a 1099 NEC, non-employee compensation. There's another 1099 receipt. I'm going to talk about it later when we talk about renting. But just so you guys know, there is a difference in the 1099 receipts. They're just receipts that you can use to prove that you paid a non-employee. Also, isn't that hilarious? The government tells us 1099 NEC, non-employee compensation.
Right. It's right there in the name.
It's right there in the name. It's a non-employee compensation. It means you are not employee of that business.
I feel like as humans, maybe, I'll just say that, we're kind of maybe scared or intimidated when we're looking for employment and we don't want to kind of poke the bear.
Right.
I would say.
Right.
Because, you know, like you said, this is very common in our industry.
Right.
So you're eager to get a job, you're eager to get working, you want to get your hands on
Especially
faces.
at the beginning, you want to start.
Yes,
you know, you're
yes.
excited. Oh, I just got my license, you know, my first job.
And so you kind of just like black out
Right.
with everything and you're like, yeah, let's do it, let's jump in.
Right.
And then once you're in it, you're in too far and it's hard to get out. Just
Exactly.
like, you know, at the end of the year, you're like, oh, I owe $2,500 in taxes. What do I do now?
Yep.
Well, you got to pay them.
And now you pay them.
Yeah.
That's very simple. So, how are these spas and salon doing? You know, why there is so much confusion? The confusion is because these owners, as I said, either because they're ignorant about the topic, they're just following whatever, you know, was told to them, or because they have malicious intent and they're just trying to take advantage of people. But they try to offer these positions as contractors, and for this reason that you were saying.
I would say, too, that it's very common in our industry for business owners to not be in the industry.
Right.
And I would say that that's more for corporate-owned
Right.
places or med spas, you
Right.
know, and that's an unfortunate thing.
That they're not service providers
Yes,
themselves.
and they might not have a business background
Right.
or know the ins and outs.
Right. Even though if you open a business, you should know these fucking things.
Right, but I mean, anyone can have a kid, anyone can have a business. Hey, we speak facts, not opinions.
I guess you're right.
But, okay, so with you in the bridal business, you give people 1099 receipts, correct?
Right, I give them. Yep, I was gonna get into that. Now, there are some businesses where having a 1099 contractors, okay, having independent contractors is the only feasible solution.
Right.
That would be a bridal business. Okay, that's why I said I was gonna use me, because it's kind of like funny that I have all these things going on. But when we book weddings, there's no way for us to say ahead of time how many weddings, with what frequencies and what hours these weddings need to be worked, right? Weddings come as they come. So we may have 2 months that we work Saturday and Sunday all day, and then there could be a month that we have nothing, for example. Not really, but you know what I mean. You know, it's very like different and unique. There's no fixed schedule.
Right.
And there's really nothing that you can plan ahead. So a bridal business is the perfect example of where an independent contractor in the beauty industry makes sense. Independent contractors should never, this is actually one of the points that the IRS mentioned, should never have a continuous relationship with salons, spas, whatever, that repeats itself over and over. So for example, a fixed schedule every week. Okay? An independent contractor is somebody that shows up as needed to perform certain tasks or gigs or day jobs, or schedule or shift, whatever, temporarily. This is why it makes sense in the bridal industry. I booked 3 weddings in October. I cannot work all of these 3 weddings in October. What do? I contract them out. I have my contractors that work under me, and I tell them, hey, are you available this day, 7 to 12, for makeup applications? This is the amount. At that point, they work for themselves, so they can either say yes, take the job at what I'm offering them, or say no, see ya, find somebody else.
Yeah.
Okay? Or I work for other bridal businesses sometimes. There have been people who reach out, they're like, hey, Lucrezia, I need somebody else for that day. Are you available? Sure, what's the pay? This is the pay. I agree. I do my job, get paid, go home. Okay? So in that case, I am specifically an independent contractor. I show up and perform a task asked by somebody else. As a contractor, they don't have any control really about the products I use, how I dress, thankfully they know me and my contractors know me, so they know how. But if I have a contractor that shows up wearing white to work a wedding, legally I can't really do much about it.
Right.
The only thing that I can do is not hire them again, because they're a contractor.
Yeah.
Okay? That's why I work only with very few selected people, because, I need to. But legally, I have really no control. I could not tell them, oh no, you gotta go home and change. They're not my employee, they're contractors. I have no control. The IRS talks about financial and behavioral control. So financial control is all the money, right? So who sets the prices? Who's collecting the payments? Are you getting a cut? Are you getting a full amount? How are you getting paid? All these things. And then behavioral control has to do with dress code and all these things. When you have contractors, you have no control over them. You can put in a contract and have them sign a contract that says that they're not gonna wear t-shirts with, religious symbols, or they're not gonna wear cuss words. You can put all these clauses that they can sign and agree to. But other than that, really, you don't really have any control. You don't even have financial control. You just tell them this is the amount and I'm gonna pay you. And at that point, the amount, it's irrelevant if it's a percentage or no, like whatever. You offer them a payment for that specific task and they agree to it or not. Very simple. This cannot be a continuous relationship. I cannot have an assistant that I hire Monday to Friday to come here to the studio and help me 9 to 5 and pay her as an independent contractor. This is not legal. It's called misclassification of labor.
But you can hire the same person multiple times. It just cannot be continuous
Right.
on a regular schedule.
Right.
Got it. Okay.
So I can tell her, hey, I will need you a couple weekends a month, not sure. Hey, I need you Friday and Saturday this week. Are you available? Yes. She comes in and she works that specific task for me at that specific rate that we agreed for that specific day. Done.
Got it.
You could be my contractor too, for example, if I hire you to, do something for me.
I mean, I'll vacuum or something, but you don't want me on a face doing makeup.
So,
Or I'll clean some brushes.
there you go.